Wowzers. What a game at the
Mm.
Stadium of Light. Welcome to Latte Firm for the On the Whistle video with myself here and James. James, mate, welcome to the show. How you doing straight after that?
Yeah, the first time doing one of these, having not won, which is a weird feeling. And for a long portion of the game, after we got our second goal, I did think we were going to be speaking joyfully and without anything to be concerned about. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. I think the team just ran out of steam, and this happens. I think we deserve to win. I really do. They had two or three chances and scored two of them. And yeah, it did feel like the team just gassed out at the end. I don't know about you, but we didn't have, had we had, let's say, Madueke and Havertz and Martinelli to bring on as a front three, I just think we'd have squeezed them up the pitch a little bit more. But we did. We conceded and saying, okay, we're going to have to give you the ball. And then it was a really sloppy giveaway. So yeah, what do you think?
I'm trying to process how I feel. Like before the game, yesterday, last night, obviously, sort of 24 hours beforehand, you're sort of full of confidence. We're unbelievable, very difficult to just even sort of concede shots against. But as soon as the lineups came out, there was a little air of nervousness, a little air of caution with me. I thought, I just sort of reflected. Sunderland are a very, very good team. I think the best team we've faced on the road this season so far. Just in terms of form, atmosphere, they were up for it. The occasion, the night. And then, of course, Dan Ballard gives them the lead. And I thought it was a very difficult first half for us. James, if I'm being honest, at halftime, I was really disappointed. I thought to myself, okay, we're in a proper game here. We need to come out in that second half. We need to be much better. And we were. And we came out. And, of course, it took about 10 minutes for Bukayo Saka to get us level. And then a wonder goal, a galazzo from Leo Trossard. And I guess in that moment, you flipped it on its head and you're thinking, right, we've gone from what could be a pretty tough day at the office to this is the stuff of champions.
Yeah.
To come away with maybe 3 points at the Stadium Light, having trailed at half time. And then I'd be slightly disagree with you in that we ran out of legs. I just think we just switched off. I think it's really poor defending and poor goalkeeping, the way that we've conceded.
I
Gabriel's
don't
been caught like
disagree
that
with
a couple
that.
of times.
I agree that it was poor defending on the goal, but I don't think we'd have been camped outside our box had we had the legs to. There were a few occasions where we had the ball with Saka or Eze and there was no outlet. We were just looking forward, and it was Rice the furthest forward half the time. Now, if we had anyone with legs on the pitch, we could have continued to stretch them. But by that point in the game, because Marino was our furthest forward, they just went, yeah, we're not stressed about it. So they chucked so many men in our half. And I see this comment, logical nonsense. I'm not sure I agree, though, because it just wasn't a game to throw in Dowman or Harry Mananous, nor was it a game to throw in maybe Nwaneri, but 9 times out of 10, Mosquera comes on and we shut off the game and we're absolutely fine. And yeah, it was just a really sloppy goal. And for me, most of the blame, I don't like to pin blame, and the defense has been immaculate this season. I don't think Raya needed to come out the way he did. Obviously, had he got the ball, it'd have been fine, but he came flying out. And in the end, the ball's gone in the middle of the net and not been hit with much power. I understand why Gabriel was frustrated. There's absolutely no way you can chalk that goal off. He ducked down quite low for the header. And yeah, it is a weird one because we've won 10 on the bounce. Now we've drawn one single game and it feels like such a dagger because of the circumstances. But I was speaking in a group chat and at half time we were saying I would probably take a draw at this point because of the way the game was going.
Well, that's the point, James. That's exactly the point I was trying to make about the roller coaster of emotions. 1-0 down at halftime, you're thinking, how are we going to get back into this? Sunderland are a good team. And as the commentary team said on Sky, they are a better team in the second half statistically this season. And Reggie Lebris has them really well coached. Granit Xhaka was outstanding today. The whole team were really, really good. And, you're away from home. We've had 3 away games in a week. And you're thinking, have we got the mettle? And we had the mettle. We didn't make any changes. Saka came out. Trossard came out. I think the way the story's gone, deep into injury time, the manner of the goal, I think Gabriel Magalhaes, absolute warrior of a defender, and I'm not going to ever criticize him, but there are goals when we can see them like that, where he's the soft one. He goes to ground a bit too easy. David Raya, like you say, coming out, if he stands on his line, he probably catches it with one hand, but that's just the story of the Barclays, and it's relentless. And Sunderland, just finally, James, on this sort of opening thoughts, they're a top team. They are in the top 4 because the way they play, they deserve, I think, a point, as a few people have said in the chat, probably a fair result today.
I hear you. I still don't think it's a fair result. I think Sunderland, you could say, did enough to get a draw, but I think we were significantly the better team. And I guess this is the variance that has been going our way all season. The fact that we beat United having conceded so many shots. We still Zubimendi hit the bar. We had several chances where we were in the box, and admittedly, Trossard's goal was an outstanding goal, but we had so many other chances where we were very, very close. Eza had a very good
Mm.
first half on his left foot. Saliba had a chance on his right foot that dropped just outside the 6-yard box. If you look at the numbers, we had several chances, especially in that second half. I will go on to speak about it, but I thought we had a really, really good second half until about the 75th, 80th minute, and then we dwindled, and it just seemed like we gassed out. So we'll go through. Yeah, interesting point about Norgard, but again, for who? Rice and Zubimendi were excellent. So yeah, we'll go through the goals and kind of dissect them as we go.
Well, let's do the starting 11 first.
Okay.
So obviously going into today's game, third away game in a week, as you know, James, I was expecting maybe one or two changes, but nothing. It was the strongest team. Marino coming in for the injured Victor Gyökeres. What did you make of it?
Unfortunately, as I say, we've just reached a point where, shockingly, considering how many players we have, it does just pick itself. And I guess the only change we could have seen was at left back, and I was quite surprised Calafiori stayed on as long as he did. I was surprised we didn't bring on Hincapié or Lewis Skelly. But yeah, I think everyone in the team, it was pretty much a given that they were going to start. This back four has been so resolute all season. This midfield, since Ødegaard has been out, has been our midfield. And the front three, unless we were going to play Harry Mananous, which wasn't going to happen, then we just didn't have the options. And it's really frustrating. But after the international break, if reports are true, we have the Avengers assembling again. We have Martinelli, Gyökeres, Madueke, Ødegaard, and Havertz. That is crazy to say, all coming back. And
Well,
yeah.
we saw on the last night preview show that Arsenal have got, with Manchester City, the most injuries in the league, and it's great to have such a stacked squad. But after the break, like you say, in the run into the festive season, James, we need our best players back. Haas has just summed it up. I've never seen Declan Rice so out of energy. No one is a Superman, not even Rice. Yeah, I feel that. In terms of lineups, for me, Sunderland were always going to go 5 at the back, 4 obviously in the middle. Xhaka, I thought Latte and Ronaldo played really well on that left-hand side to shut out Saka in that first half. But of course, we grew into the game. From our perspective, I don't know what changes we could have made. I think Calafiori obviously coming in after the Champions League was no problem. The back four is the back four. I thought Timber, after his head knock, White was on the bench, wasn't he? Timber looked a little bit tired towards the end. Maybe that could have been a sort of fresh legs on that right-hand side.
He did, but again, we can ask ourselves, who would you feel more comfortable defending against Adingra, Timber or White? And ultimately, I don't think Timber put a particular foot wrong in the end. It was through a scruffy... Where did the ball come from his side, but I don't think it was. Where did the ball in come from? Xhaka passed it to their left-hand side, and they whipped it in, I believe.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. So look, no real complaints about the lineup. Interestingly, we didn't make as many changes as we normally do. Our first substitute coming after 88 minutes, Christian Mosquera coming in for Eberechi Eze. Lots of people talking about game management. Phoenix says very poor game management in the last 10 to 15 minutes. Rice was dead. But how do you take a player off like Declan Rice? Let's talk about the overall match stats. Let me just talk through those for you, James. 0.44 XG for Sunderland, 2.09 XG for Arsenal. 17 shots on goal for Arsenal in the end, 7 on target, most of those in the second half. Sunderland starting well, having 6 shots on target. 6 shots on goal, 2 on target. Their goalkeeper was forced into 5 saves. David Raya didn't have to make a save. And then, of course, right at the end, fumbled the bag. Possession-wise, distance covered by both teams, fairly even. Nothing really that kind of springs out to me. So, look, the manner of the goal that we conceded right at the death, that obviously takes the shine off it, and that goes against this is the stuff of champions rhetoric that I was prepared to start going live with. But Sunderland away, they are in decent form. I expect them to drop at some point, but certainly the first half of the season, until that drop comes, they are going to take points off really good teams.
And just what I want to say is the stuff of champions. Yes, we didn't win today, and had we won, I think that really would have been the stuff of champions. But what we did today was responded at half time and we raised the level. And I do think that is something that in previous years, in that adversity, we shied away. And too many times in the past, we've had games like that where we could not find a solution. And in the second half, we just fizzled out and we just lost 1-0 or even 2-0 because they found a second goal. Seen it numerous times against Aston Villa, West Ham, Fulham, these type of teams. Newcastle in particular, and this game was very similar to some of the previous games we've had at St James's Park. Today, the way we stepped up in the second half, that particular 15-minute spell from about the 50th to the 65th minute was really, really impressive. It wasn't to be, but I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of to say we dropped 2 points against the Sunderland team. And fortunately, Liverpool and City are playing each other. And if they draw, then that lead stays the same.
Let's talk about the goals. The first goal from former Arsenal boy Dan Ballard, who obviously never played for Arsenal in terms of senior team, but Helen boy, I mean, a pretty awesome performance from him today. The sort of defender that you don't really want to face against, but I wasn't expecting him to, to sort of pop up into the box and smash one into the roof of the net.
He got a goal and assist in the end. He also assisted the winner. Rice didn't cover himself in glory with that goal. There was a long ball that came over the top. Rice, it was a bit scruffy on the knockdown with Rice. And then, I think he could have been a little bit sharper onto the follow-up. But ultimately, the difficulty is sometimes these things happen. When teams play 50 long balls against you in a game, sometimes the ball drops in the box. And sometimes their centre-back smashes it in the roof of the net. And you just have to firm that. And that is why teams don't win 38 games in a season. That is why points get dropped. And the way you respond to that is massive. So we weren't going to concede no goals for the rest of the season. It is sloppy. It goes down as a bit of an individual error by Rice. But to me, I just chalk it down as one of those goals. I don't think you can say we're never going to concede those sloppy goals throughout the season. I don't know. How did you see it?
Well, look, I mean, we were never going to go through the rest of the season without conceding either a shot on goal or obviously an actual goal. Like I said at the start of the show, James, I put this fixture down as quite a tough day. And at half-time, Sunderland really surprised me. And I think we were equally as bad as much as they were good. And I thought to myself, right, we're in a proper game. We're going to need to react. In the end, like I say, and I've said it again, I think the more I digest and process, because obviously we've gone live on the whistle looking at the stats, as many of you have said, it is 2 points dropped because of the way the story went. But like you say, James, at half-time, there were texts in groups and DM sort of groups about, well, would you take a draw? And most people were unequivocally like, yes. This is a tough place to go. So, look, disappointing to concede when you're 2-1 up. And after you're 2-1 up, you've got to shut out shop. You've got to do the professional thing and just, see it out. But this is the Premier League and it's relentless. And you've seen it so many times over the years where, late goals, and Sunderland have been doing that this season. Let's talk about how we turned it around. So second half, we came out much better performance, like night and day. And Saka's goal, what a goal.
And I just want to say that the reason why it was such an improved performance is simply we were moving the ball quicker. In the first half, it was so laborious. We were passing side to side, passing back to our centre-backs. And I understand it. We want to do this mechanical build-up play, but Sunderland were fine. They're like, do that. Pass it to Saka in the end, pass it to Trossard in the end, and cross it into the box, and we'll head it out and kick it out. In the second half, we started zipping the ball about. It was 1 touch, 2 touch. If a space doesn't open up, move it, shift it. And eventually spaces were opening up. And as a byproduct of moving it so fast, teams get tired and leave gaps. And that's what we saw. And Sunderland got a bit overconfident because they had several warnings where they were trying to pass it out from the back. As I say, I think the first one was in the first half, maybe, where the ball dropped to Eze. I can't remember who tackled. He wasn't tackled. Enzo Lafay just tried to chest it down, dropped to Eze, could have done better. Second half, they tried that again just before, didn't come to anything. And then again, he's trying to dribble through Rice. This is Declan Rice we're talking about. He's a pressing monster. Won the ball back, gives it to Marino, gives it to Saka. And what a finish that is, by the way. It's not an easy finish. And he gave Roofs no chance. I know people are saying he got beaten at the near post. He smashed that just on the
That
inside of the
flies
post.
past the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I mean, he opens up one touch, opens up his body, right foot bullet shot into the bottom corner. No, I don't think many goalkeepers are even getting close to that. I think there's a few Arsenal fans in the chat, as we can see. Look, we're still comfortably top, no matter what happens tomorrow. Played a fantastic second half, and it was without, like you say, the Avengers. There's no need to panic, but this was more frustrating than the City and Liverpool games. We had the win in our hands and we blew it. I think that's the frustration. Call out boy, evening, welcome. Says, evening, gents. Frustration, the overriding feeling. Didn't appreciate the sub at the end at all. It invited needless pressure. We needed Miles Lewis-Skelly and Wanyeri on to draw tomorrow, and all is fine. It does. Actually, let's talk about the league position just a second, because we've got to talk about Leo Trossard's strike. What a finish. Zubimendi weirdly gets an assist for that, but they all count. But Trossard, what a goal. And in such a good moment as well.
Yeah, I thought he had a good, just outside of the goal. So speaking on Saka, I think Saka grew into the second half, but again, I don't think it was a vintage Saka performance. On the other hand, I thought Trossard was really good. And I've been preaching it on this podcast for a while. I think he's had a very good season. I think he's quietly probably been our best attacker this season. I can't see why that would be argued against. Done a lot of selfless work this season in dropping deep and creating space for Gyökeres. And today, even outside of the goal, some of the passes inwards to Calafiori, some of the chipped balls into Rice, he's a danger and he's a threat. And it was so great to see. It's been a while since we've had a Trossard goal like that. And what a goal it was. Just Calafiori, huge shout out to him, who made a really selfless run on the, I think it was technically on the inside, but came around his outside, gives Trossard half a step, and his ball striking is so good. And yeah, again, unsavable from Ruffs. And he looked pumped. If you saw the camera pan to him after, he was gassed after that. He was telling everyone, right, let's have it.
Yeah, let's close
but
it
it was
down.
not to be.
I know. Well, it was Brian Brobby who, of course, scored the dramatic late equaliser against us. First goals that we've conceded after 8 clean sheets in the Premier League, James. I think a lot's going to be made out of this goal. If you look back at and everything looks worse in slow motion. Gabby's having a tug on Brian Brobby, and then they both go to ground, but Brobby gets that beautiful touch, flicks it over David Raya, who, to be fair, should never have really advanced in that moment. But of course, he's got to make a decision in a split second. He's panicked and he's come to try and claim the ball. And in the end, Gabby's on the floor, Raya's on the floor, ball's in the back of the net.
I think the atmosphere, in a weird way, I think the atmosphere kind of got to us there. If it's at the Emirates, we've conceded sloppy goals in the past at the Emirates, but I think we could have put a lid on things. Just every time the ball was going into the box, there was such an air of expectation from the fans that our players began to get a bit jittery. So we were clawing at players, we were fighting and wrestling. Raya's going to punch things that he shouldn't be punching. And I just think if it's at the Emirates, we are a little bit more composed in that situation. And maybe it still happens. As I say, it's just one of those goals where if team throws the ball into the box 50 times, sometimes it drops. And unfortunately today, more days than others, the ball did drop. It was scruffy from both Gabriel and Raya. I don't take that away from them, but I just think it's one of those days where things didn't go our way. And yeah, you look at the XG numbers, for example. It doesn't mean everything, but we had far more chances than them. And on another day, it could have been a 2-0 or a 3-1, for example.
Let's take a couple of questions.
But it's important we didn't lose.
Yeah, it is absolutely right. If you can't win, don't get beat. But it is, again, jarring because we were 2-1 up, 94 minutes on the clock. Sandip says, evening, guys. Starting slowly has cost us the first half gave me PTSD of last season. I mean, look, we finished really well. Second half was really much better from Arsenal. Do you think we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot by not coming out the blocks flying? I mean, it was a very stop-start game. 2 big injuries, 9 minutes of injury time in that first half, which is unusual.
I just think in that sort of stadium, you can't come out the blocks flying, especially considering the circumstances of our players, how we were kind of running on empty by this point. We cannot go into that game and be like, right, okay, we're going to attack the game, because then you get caught and concede. Like, you have to, in big games, away big games, and also these type of big games, you have to get a feel into the game, can't suck the atmosphere out of the crowd, which we didn't do because of the goal we conceded. But outside of that, we really didn't do a whole lot wrong. And then in the second half, we played much better. But yeah, So I'm not sure I agree that we should have gone into it guns blazing. I think there's always a bit of context to that at these big away games.
I think we also have to remember, James, we've had 3 away games in a week,
Yeah.
and not just any away game. I mean, traveling Champions League midweek is always challenging, the sort of sleep pattern, travel pattern. I know the players travel nice, but it's all a big disruption. You don't really get time to train properly and rest and recover. Burnley away, it's as north as you can go of England. Sunderland away today, again, as north as you can go in England. 3 pretty, tricky sort of travel logistics, if you like, in the space of a week. And, like you say, we're missing so many of our attacking players. I think a point upon reflection isn't the worst result away at Sunderland, given their form. The manner, the story, the way that we conceded the 2 points, I guess, and the goal right at the end is obviously, galling, so frustrating. But at halftime,
And we
like I
just
say,
won 10 on
I'd
the
have taken
bounce.
that. Yeah, exactly. 10
Whenever
wins on
we
the
drop
bounce.
these points, it was going to hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And Sunderland away is not the worst place. Can we just talk about the absence of a striker? Obviously, Mikel Merino was playing today, and lots of people have said, look, we've obviously missed Victor Gyökeres. I mean, it's obvious, right? Merino's link-up play, pass play outside the box isn't great. He's deadly in the box, as we know. But when he's not scoring the goals, you can really see the gulf in quality between he and any orthodox striker.
Yeah, it's also just his mobility. When Gyökeres drops deep, he can then get into the box on the end of things. There was a moment in the second half where there was some really nice interplay, and the ball comes to Timber, and he goes to first half as well. Actually, the ball came to Timber, he crossed it, and there was no one there. First half, Eze really nicely got around his man on the outside and looks up to cross it, and there's no one making that front post run. And we've been saying it for so long now. And yeah, Merino can do some good stuff, but we all know he's not a sustainable number 9. And to be honest, there's no one I can blame for this, unless we played Trossard there. But Trossard against those 3 centre-backs would have been swallowed alive. The unfortunate truth is we've got Jesus, Havertz and Gyökeres on about 800 grand a week combined, and they're all injured. So for whatever reason, horrible situation.
Horrible indeed. Look, hundreds of you watching live on YouTube. If you're enjoying this sort of content, please do follow Latte FM on socials and subscribe to the channel. Thank you also to everybody in the chat. Last couple of questions, James. The noise will come as CX_92 says the shark is in the water and the crumble is incoming, but we are 7 points clear after game week 11 for us. Manchester City lurking the shark in second place with the robot up top, and they play, of course, Pep Guardiola's 1000th management game in charge tomorrow at home to Liverpool. What's the result you're hoping for tomorrow, and what should people make of the noise now? Because I think Arsenal fans are easy targets, and they know, the media know that we're going to react, and the rival fans will know that they're going to chuck enough bait out, and there's going to be lots of us that bite. But the story now is going to be, here it comes, pressure cooker, can't handle it, the bottlers, they're going to crumble. What do you make of all of that?
Ignore it. Have a nice international break. Go home to your families. enjoy your 2 weeks off. And we go again with some big games, Chelsea, Spurs. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how I would love to pronounce that name.
It's Donald. Yeah, just call him Donald. I know it's Donald.
Yeah, I agree with Donald. Absolutely. Just brush ourselves off and go again. We put it down to these things happen. It could have been so much worse today. We could have lost. Then the pressure would have really been on. People who actually watched today will have known that was a very decent performance by Arsenal. So those who saw it will have gone, actually, they're still not showing fallibility. They're still looking very good. And there's no crumble capitulation today. It was just a sloppy goal conceded at the end. So yeah, 2 weeks international break comes at a very good time for the players, not for the fans who are going to have to eat all of that nonsense from the media, but for the players, they absolutely needed this. And to have those lot all coming back into team is going to do wonders for us. But yeah, some huge games when we get back.
Yeah, and listen, I agree with you. I think we just got to ignore the noise. We just won 10 on the bounce in all competitions, 8 clean sheets in the Premier League in a row. We've drawn today against a very, very good and informed team, and I think there will be teams that go to the Stadium Light and they'll struggle. And I think there will be teams that will see Arsenal performance today, maybe not necessarily the equaliser right at the death, but they'll see that you might think you've got the upper hand and you might think you're the better team at halftime, but Arsenal have got enough quality. They can just turn it on and get out of jail. And of course, the equaliser was just a defensive mess. Liverpool City tomorrow. Sorry, City Liverpool the other way around. What are you expecting?
I think City win. It's at home. I know Liverpool have turned things around a little bit. All of those games have been at Anfield, if I'm not mistaken. I just think at the Etihad, City are much improved. Haaland is Haaland. And I go with a 2-1 City. What I'd like is a draw with 10 red cards and plenty of injuries. How about yourself?
I think City will win. And then all of a sudden, it's game week 11 gone, and the gap is just 4 points. And we have to go to the Etihad. So the narrative writes itself. I would want a draw. Do I want Liverpool to win? No. But then I think City are more of a threat than Liverpool. But then Erling Haaland, this goal-scoring rate, like a bit like Mo Salah for the first sort of 2/3 of last season, then tail end of last season. I can't see it being sustainable. Famous last words. But it's gonna be a good game. Do you know what? It's beginning to sink in now. Like the pennies drop, James. We've just been leading at the Stadium of Light. Deep into injury time, we've conceded. It could have been the most generational hate watch tomorrow.
We'd have gone what, 9 points clear?
Yeah, it would have been 9 points clear. I mean, it's definitely 2 points.
No, it would have been. It would have actually been 10 points clear as it stands.
No, it would have been 9. We were 6 points clear. I think because we're 7 now, so it would have been an additional 2 points, obviously.
Oh yeah. I'm an
idiot. So yeah, that's right. So it would have been 9 points clear, and it would have been fantastic tomorrow. And I think the more that I think about it now, obviously, just because of the situation that we were in, if you forget the game up until that point, to be 2-1 up, 3 minutes to go at the Stadium of Light, going for the title, you have to hold out, see out the win. But at halftime, I'd have taken the draw. Funny old game, eh? Funny old game. I think we can leave it there. Let us know in the chat what you guys think. Obviously, a very difficult result to kind of process and digest. Obviously, we want to win every game. We want to win every game, every week. We want to beat whoever we're playing, but it's not possible. The Premier League is unforgiving. It is relentless. But here we are. We have come away with a point from the Stadium of Light. 2 points dropped, but we are 7 points clear at the top of the Premier League table. Tomorrow, Manchester City take on Liverpool. We'll be back tomorrow night with a match reaction and a proper deep dive reflection of the weekend's football. Look after yourselves, stay well, and try and enjoy your Saturday night. If anybody wants to follow James, he's available at AFCJXMES. And of course, there's my personal F Carnage. Look after yourselves. Take care. Bye for now.
Yeah.